Someone would say, well, it's obvious not to connect positive to negative. I know that, and I knew that when I was connecting my solar panels to my electric system. And still it happened. In this video I'm going to show exactly how and why this happened, as I hope that it would help someone not to make the same mistake that I did. In the previous video I shared how I put together my electric system for my lovely abandoned house in the middle of nowhere that had absolutely no connection to any source of power before. This system can be charged with electric generator and solar panels. I was using electric generator only during first 3 months, I think, before I bought solar panels and connected them. I've never done this before. I've never even seen solar panels up close before. And honestly, it wasn't that hard than I thought it would be. But I faced two big challenges though. The first one is what I mentioned. I accidentally connected solar panels positive to inverters negative and vice versa. I will talk about it in detail in a bit. And the second one is that these solar panels are fucking heavy. And yes, you can move and connect them alone if you have to. I did it alone. But if you have a choice, it would be so much easier to have a help of another person. Each panel weighs 25 kilos, which is not an awful lot, of course. But these 25 kilos come in the shape incredibly inconvenient to manipulate. Too long on the long side, 2 meters, too wide on the short side, which is 1 meter, no holders or anything. It's not convenient to hold them. They're too large to rotate, too wide to carry, and a real nightmare when you try to do it when it's windy. I was doing it during the strong wind. Long story short, if you have an option, I would highly recommend to get help of someone else to help you position them. So in this video I'm going to show how I connected my solar panels to my existing electric system step by step, what I bought beforehand, which tools I used, and how it happened that I connected positive to negative, of course. Okay, let's get started. So my electric system consists of batteries that store energy, an inverter that is responsible for all thinking, this bus bar that connects batteries negative to inverter negative and batteries positive to inverters positive, and the source of power, which is the generator and now the solar panels. So my task was to connect solar panels to the inverter. Tools that I used. I didn't use any special tools except for the key for solar panels connectors. These solar panels connectors were coming in with this key, so I didn't have to look for it or buy it separately. Except for that, I used regular pliers to fix the metal part of the connector to the cable, and wire cutters that I used to cut wires. But honestly, these wire cutters that I have is garbage, and I had to use a regular cutter too. Anyways, so in case you don't have these wire cutters, it's not a big deal. It's possible to do it with just a regular utility knife. Now, to be able to connect solar panels, I bought these three things beforehand. I bought beforehand cables, connectors, and the breaker. To connect solar panels, you have to buy two cables, one for positive and one for negative. For me, it was super important to know beforehand, before I ordered solar panels, how much cable I would need, so I could have ordered the cable in the same store where I was ordering solar panels. Otherwise, I would need to buy in the local store, which is 30 kilometers away from me, and for the different price. I didn't choose anything here. The cable that I bought was suggested by the store. You know, when you put something in the basket, you have suggested items. So these cables were suggested by the store as solar cables. So I got them. Their size is 6 millimeters. I'll show how I measured the length of the cables just in a bit. Then I needed connectors. I just searched on Amazon MC4 connectors for solar panels. This is the standard for solar panels connectors. And I bought those with good reviews. MC4 is the standard type for connectors for solar panels. Solar panels themselves have connectors on the back side. I didn't know that. Okay, there are connectors here. So I was thinking that I would need to put connectors on each solar panel and on the cables. But it turned out that solar panels are coming with connectors on them. So I only had to put connectors on the cables to connect one side of the cable to solar panels and another side to inverter. And as I have two cables, I just needed 4 connectors. To be precise, 4 pairs of connectors. These connectors that I ordered were coming with the key. This key is necessary to open the connector and also to screw and unscrew them. It's very handy. Apart from the cables and connectors, I bought a breaker. This goes in between solar panels and the inverter. Its purpose is to shut off the power if something happens to solar panels, so that nothing happens to the inverter. At that time, I didn't have a box to store the breaker and other components. Normally, all these parts should go into one box. I'm going to do it one day when I do the full electrical wiring for my house, like switches, sockets and lights and everything. Okay, where to put solar panels? I couldn't put my solar panels to the place where I wanted to put them, on the roof, because to put them on the roof I needed to finish repairing my roof first, and it took me quite some time. So temporarily I put these solar panels directly on the ground, without any structure, without any support, and they spent there 3 months without any problem. As I didn't know anything about solar panels before, I was quite worried to put them directly on the ground. What if they would move? What if it's rainy? What if it's windy? What if wild goats or boars decide to dance on them? I don't know. What I can tell now is that they are quite heavy. They are not going to fly anywhere. Rain doesn't bother them, and wild goats and boars have not shown any interest yet in dancing on them. But there were a few things that I was advised to do and that I did to prepare the ground for solar panels. First, I picked the place that was likely to have a lot of sun, as you can see now, and had a good angle too. Más o menos. Clean from trees and bushes and big rocks. This little slope next to the house was almost that. It's indeed a good place with a lot of sun and with okay angle to the sun, but there were a lot of plants to get rid of and a lot of rocks to harvest. I wanted to make sure I am not placing panels on rocks and that the soil is leveled, more or less, at least. And also that above the panels there are no large rocks that might fall down on them or roll down on them in case of strong wind or rain. Actually, it never rains here until it rains. So how to know how many meters of cable you need to buy? So when you know where your solar panels will be positioned, you can measure how many meters of cable you need to connect them to inverter. You can connect them in 2 ways, in parallel and in series. I connected mine in series. I connected each panel to the next one. Male connector on the one panel goes into female connector of another panel. So after I connected them, I had a line of 7 panels connected one to each other. And then on the sides, I have 2 cables, again, as if it was one big panel. One would be male, another one would be female. One would be positive and another one would be negative. It was super easy to do. You can't do it wrong. Or you can. Well, I did. That's why I had my positive and negative mess, because of which I connected solar panels positive to inverters negative and vice versa. We'll show it now, but let's get back to the measuring for a sec. For example, in my case, I have this line of 7 panels. They occupy around 10 meters in the length. My inverter is over there on that side of house, and the cable goes around the house up to the roof through the chimney that is not in use obviously now. Alright, here we go. The cable is inside the house through this opening, and then it goes up to the roof and down to the ground, and I'm going to measure how many meters of cable I need to connect my solar panels that will be on the ground to the inverter and batteries that will be inside the house. It enters the house from above and then it goes directly to the inverter. So I measured the length from the first panel to inverter. I used another cable to imitate the path of my future solar cable with all angles and turns. Also, I kept in mind that later, when I finally finish repairing my roof, I will need to install them there and going to use the same cables. So I added 4 meters just to be safe than sorry. This was the length of my one cable that goes from inverter to the first panel. Now I need to add to this length 10 meters, and I will have the length of another cable. And this is the length that I needed to order. And here we come to the main thing, which length is for negative cable and which length is for positive cable. Now, you can place positive cable here or you can place positive cable there. It doesn't matter. At the moment when you're planning this and ordering the cable, it doesn't matter what you decide. Positive will be here or positive will be there or vice versa. It doesn't matter. But what is important? When you decided, for example, that positive will be here and negative will be there, it's important to check that solar panels agree with your plans, that you really have positive on solar panel on this side and negative on solar panel on that side. There are markers on the back of each panel over here telling you if this is plus, if this is positive side or this is negative side. That was exactly what I've forgotten to do. I had two cables perfectly measured of two colors, red and black. Red for positive, black for negative, right? And I had these entrances to my inverter, which are positive and negative as well. So I knew where to connect where. And then I didn't look at the side of the panel. I just connected them as I positioned them. I didn't check. So I connected my red cable, which is positive, to my positive inverter and then to this side that I planned to be positive for my panels. I just connected them and this is it. But you have to look on the another side of the panel, is it positive or not, and rotate the panel accordingly to have really positive on the side where you think you have positive and to have negative on the side where you think you need negative. It was late evening when I finished connecting my solar panels. There was no sunlight and I was a little bit upset that I won't see the solar panels charging that day, that evening when I was connecting them. I had to wait until tomorrow morning to see how the energy goes into my batteries. I went to bed, then around midnight, my friend who was helping me with all this messages me. I watched the video of your connections another time, and I think you might have connected solar panels plus to inverters minus. I jumped off the bed, switched the breaker off. I didn't know if there was any damage done already to microcontroller or not. I could barely wait to the next morning to reconnect them properly and to see if anything was damaged or not. I was mentally prepared, to be honest, that something would be damaged. As it happens often to me, I was incredibly lucky and nothing was damaged. I don't even want to think about other scenarios. So again, on each panel, on the back side, there is a sign telling you is this is plus or this is a minus. You can position your cables on whatever side you want, but you also have to position your solar panels in the way that they match where you have your positive and where you have your negative. You have to rotate them in case you have already positioned them wrongly. After I reconnected them properly, well, it's a magic. It's magic. The energy is coming into the batteries and I don't have to do anything at all. And the last bit, how exactly to connect these MC4 connectors to the cable. This MC4 connector consists of two parts, male and female. The cable will go inside this plastic body. It's going to be fixed with this metal connector. Very important thing. Metal connector type is opposite to the plastic connector type. So if you have to connect female plastic connector, the metal part that you would need to put inside would be male and vice versa. And when you connect them later, male will go inside the female. The first task is to prepare a cable, then fix the connector to the cable, and then put all parts of plastic body. To prepare the cable, we'll need to clean away the insulation about 2-3 centimeters. I think it may vary a bit depending on the exact model, but it's important that it's long enough to interlock well with metal connector, but not too long, as in this case you won't be able to close the connectors properly. This happened to me. When you have the cable free from the insulation, you can rotate it a little bit to give it a shape and then it goes inside the connector. There are small brackets there. You squeeze one bracket with pliers first and another one after, in the way that one will lay down on another, and then two together to make a little bit of angle there. For better connection, I used wire cutters for this. The corner of pliers would work as well. And if all is done right, it won't be moving, would be sitting there firmly. It took me 3 or 4 times to feel how to do this. But in reality, there is nothing difficult there. And in the end, you put all plastic parts together. It's important to screw it well with the key. This is it. These connectors are waterproof and should be resistant to the sun, but I put them underneath the panels, just in case. There are 2 entrances for solar panels in this inverter, and my task is to connect solar panels to inverter. I'm connecting solar panels to breaker first, and then breaker to the inverter using one of 2 entrances that I have here. And a note about the grounding. Except of everything that I have shown, you have to do grounding. Basically, it's a separate cable that goes down to the ground. I didn't have grounding in the beginning. My phone screen was unusable while charging. It was touching things itself. My laptop felt like vibrating when I touched it. And the electric oven explicitly told me not to touch its back when it was working. That wasn't pleasant at all. In other words, grounding is something that you need to do as fast as possible. Ideally, at the moment when you put together your electric system. I was able to do it a little bit later. I'm gonna show it now. It's a cable that is connected to the metal rod that goes down in the ground. Ideally, it should be placed in the humid place. In my case, I have 2. If there are 2, they should be placed in a distance, one from another. So I had 7 solar panels. Each one is 565 watts. Is it enough to live normally? When I bought them and when I was connecting them, I had no idea. I didn't know how fast it would be charging. I didn't know if it's enough sun and how fast I will be discharging these batteries. At the moment of making this video, I've been using 7 panels during half a year already, and there were quite a few surprises that I encountered. What do you think the month of the highest production was? What do you think about this setup? 7 panels, each one is 565 watts. Is it enough for living? I'm in Spain. I'm curious to see if anyone can guess. I'm going to talk about generation and consumption in the next video. And this is another story for another time. Bye!